too much.
Alright guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the manual transmission swap series. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep the AR5 transmission for installation into the GS400. There are many steps that we're going to have to go through today, and I'm going to walk you through each one. First and foremost, we're going to get rid of what's called the tripod assembly, which is right here, and we're going to replace it with the drift motion housing. So let's go ahead and get started on that right now.
What are you doing, Kristen?
Okay, step one is to remove this shield. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. You need a 14mm and a 12mm. Now we need to get this extension arm in, and you can see it's going to fit approximately right there. The only way to do that is to open up this case and to allow this slide to come out in order to get this on and fastened right there in that position. I recommend clamping this to here because when you undo these bolts, they run all the way through and you don't want to have to end up resealing this as well. So the only thing we're gonna have to reseal is this because we have to split it away in order to get this shaft loosened up right there. That's my template. I'll just put it. Okay, this is a 30mm nut or socket you're gonna need to get that out. Obviously, you're gonna have to take a flathead and knock out these little lock notches. Go ahead and get that busted loose, 30mm, and you might want to mark this output flange. Start prying it open like that. You can see it's starting to move. I thought the oil was all drained out from shipment, but man, a lot came out. So make sure you're fully drained because it's going everywhere. You want to clamp this here because you don't want to have to reseal these two halves. You just want to have to deal with this one. Well, this is what it looks like when you pry the halves apart. This is the back half, and what we're after is that arm right there. So we need to pull that out so that we can free this piece off right there. So right here, that's not really going down in there, so I need to back these out a little bit to allow that to fall down in there and to allow that shaft to then go through that hole. These are 24mm. So you can see how they work. So you pull this lever out like that. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna fish it back through with your extension on, and you're gonna put it right on top of, I know it's gonna be hard to see, but see how that does that? You're gonna put it right on top of that and then kind of push it into place and tighten each of these on either side. One thing you can do is pay attention to the bolts that you pull out. I can see that there's thread locker red on here. So when we put this one into there, I would put some thread locker red on it. Also, this is going to be a good time to make sure your mating surfaces are clean. This is where the Viton seal is going to go. You don't have to use fipg here. I'm gonna go with 27 on this. Okay, get it kind of stuck down like I just did. Just leave these loose, don't torque these yet. and that'll allow you to kind of slide that back into place. So it gets stuck, you can undo these a little bit and bring it back. Now you don't really have to put this drift motion housing on just yet, because you can slip it on after you get this all bolted back on. Remember, you're going to have to get all this old fipg off of here and reapply the fipg and then torque this back to the transmission. I'm going to wait on this just in case. Alright, it's time to apply fipg. That's how you want to apply it, on that surface right there. So I've got it all cleaned up, I've got it all wiped, about ready to put this back together. This is the fipg I'm going to use, 1281B. I'm going to go ahead and start applying it. You want to wait to secure the transmission back half to that half after about a minute. Give it a torque down. I should be able to tell you what the values are on those bolts going in here in a second. All right, I want to show you guys something before we get the fipg put on and continue. You want to make sure that these three positions are lined up as shown. If not, you'll see one that's kicked out and it'll be impossible to get this lever into there because it has to go into there. And then you're going to get all the fipg all over the place. It's going to be a big problem, big hassle. Bottom line, make sure that those are all lined up. And you're going to have to move this thing around quite a bit while pushing it onto the shaft. fipg is applied. You wait about a minute. Squeeze out is normal and preferred. You definitely want to see some squeeze out around there. You don't have to put the housing on yet. That's why I left it off. I just wanted to make sure everything works. You should check your gears and make sure that it engages forward and back and it doesn't feel off. If it feels off, you're going to have to open this whole thing back up again, take off all the fipg, and make sure that that lever I was showing you is engaged in all three of those cogs. If you did it correctly, make sure that you torque these down. There's no torque value, but torque them to the torque stripe. They should hold this in place, and this is, you know, when you turn your shifter back and forth. And then don't forget this part, I haven't put that on yet. 30 millimeter socket and run it on here, and then you're going to tap those back down. Ideally, you want to use a new nut in this location, but I'm pretty sure that this one's going to be fine. I'll go ahead and just reuse it. Torque value on this is very low. It's only 14 foot-pounds. So do not over-tighten these. And then test fit your cube speed shifter into your drift motion extension. Right now you're not going to do Loctite or anything, you're just going to kind of test fit everything. Now just so you know, this is a spacer and the cube speed directions will tell you when to use this. If your shifting is notchy or binding, they said you can use this along with the supplied longer Allen head bolts. You're going to want an H4 to tighten these, and do not tighten them very much. There it is, all test fit up. Looking good. I don't have everything torqued down. Didn't use thread locker yet. And there's going to be some nylon nuts that go on here. I just wanted to Size it all up and make sure it's all good. Using the fipg here, we're just gonna go real thin with it. I hope I'm getting kind of good at it, but don't need much. Thread locker. Right there. Now that we have the back half of the transmission taken care of, we're going to start working on the front half. I'm going to remove the throwout bearing and the bell housing, and we're going to get the adapter from XAT Racing fitted up. Let's get started. All right, next we are going to take off the input bearing retainer assembly, and that is this right here. These are 12 millimeter all the way around. Be prepared, some oil might leak. XAT Racing includes a new input shaft seal with their vacuum sealed kit for you. And what you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're going to hammer it into place right there. This is a 36 millimeter, fits perfectly. Just start tapping that into place. Next, we're going to have to get this guide pin out right here. Yep, vice grips will get it out of there. XAT Racing sends you 9 of these. You're going to need a hex head for this to fasten it properly. I'm going to get a torque value for that for you guys, just so you know how this works. These are going to go in there like that, and then they're going to secure to the transmission. I'm going to use thread locker on those as well. And we can't forget the fipg. Okay, you got to use fipg and you got to apply it on this. So we're going to do that now. We're going to torque to 44 foot-pounds. All right, you're going to need an H8, which looks like that. First thing I'm going to do is get this thing lined up and get one threaded before I smash this fipg down. To 44. I like to put torque stripes on everything. Let's talk about this throwout bearing real fast and the bleed and feed. So this is going to be your bleed side, this is going to be your feed side. These fittings from XAT Racing will come with your nicely vacuum sealed kit here, and you are going to remove this by knocking out this pin, and you're going to need to keep that pin because you're going to reuse it. And then this piece will slide off, you don't need it anymore, and then you'll install this and put the pin back in. On this side, the bleed side, you're going to need to take that out with a socket, and then you're going to put the washer onto this fitting to convert it over to the 4AN. These are the mounting fasteners, and we will put this on after we get this portion done. This is a 7/16 socket. Remember, this is a GM product, I believe, so it's going to be standard. So this thing you don't need anymore. get rid of that. And then what you're gonna do, let's just make sure the threads are good. Yep, so you're gonna install this with the washer right there. Flush with that washer that's on there. You know, I don't think that's a 17. 16 fits a lot better. Try a 16, guys. Once the pin is knocked far enough down, you don't have to get it all the way out. You just pull this connection out like that, and they must have tested this because there's fluid in it. So set that to the side, and now you're ready to insert your new connection here. And now you're going to knock the pin back through to hold this in place. Now you're going to establish how you would like your throwout bearing clocked. It has a few different options on your adapter plate here, depending on which way you want to run your lines. Running straight up and out is a good option. Right about there. And you can always move it later. Once you find your position, you're going to need an H4 socket. I guess you could say a hex 4. And the provided XAT Racing fasteners, and then you're going to put some thread locker blue on there. The torque value won't be very high. We'll get that first one installed. Thanks for joining me on the transmission prep episode. The next step is to pull the A650 out of my car to remove the bell housing and to get it mounted to the XAT Racing adapter. I appreciate you joining me for this episode. There's going to be more, so be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a like, drop a comment, and I'll see you on the next episode.